At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking it.
The federal government has inaugurated a renegotiation committee on the 2009 agreement with university-based unions, including the Academic Staff Union of Universities, to resolve all the pending issues. Meanwhile, preparations are on for the Ondo governorship election coming up in November as parties take their campaigns to different parts of the state. This is Standpoint. I am Abosede Adeniran. The Nigerian government on Tuesday inaugurated another committee to renegotiate the contentious 2009 agreement between it and workers' unions in public universities. The committee was inaugurated by the Minister of Education, Tahir Mamman, a professor in Abuja. Professor Mamman, while inaugurating the committee, tasked it with producing a realistic and workable agreement that would comprehensively tackle the challenges confronting the Nigerian university system and reposition it to effectively play its very important role in national development. He recalled that the renegotiation of the 2009 agreement between the federal government and the university staff unions commenced on Monday, 13th of February 2017. This is the fourth committee handling the renegotiation since 2017, with the government failing to implement each of the renegotiated agreements. Policy analyst Amechi Asogoni joins me in the studio to discuss this. Good to have you join us on Standpoint.
Good afternoon.
Again, another committee set up to renegotiate this 2009 agreement, and this is the fourth time a committee will be set up since 2017 to look into the matter. What do you make of it?
First and foremost, I will still commend the government, because every attempt to solving a problem suggests positive mindset. But as a country, there is something that we must depart from: the attitude of negligence to commitment. As at the time of negotiation, you would nearly believe everything that government would have said. Unfortunately, during implementation is where Labour always see this idea of placing labor issues behind priority. And it's not favorable to the education system of Nigeria. So if we say renegotiation of a renegotiated agreement, this is the fourth time we are renegotiating agreement, meaning we are not paying attention to new issues arising from education sector. It's a problem because the ASUU, we know that we believe in Nigeria, a lot of people have removed their children from public universities to private universities. Not that they don't get the best in learning, but because of time factor, as maybe resulted through strike. Thank God this period, ASUU is still slowing down I call it almost usual in the sector that they would have
gone on strike.
Proceeded on strike. The government of today should see every other commitment by federal government is one. Government has not changed. Administration is a focus. So we must say bye to this very slavery attitude towards commitment to agreement.
But what if other issues have arisen in other sectors, and so those issues seem to now be the priority for the government of the day?
Let me understand your...
I'm talking about, for instance, this is education. Definitely education is important. What if, for instance, insecurity is really so huge and government feels it needs to invest a whole lot of fund into that sector to boost it? It means that somehow it might probably not be able to meet up with, whatever agreements the previous government, not holding brief for them, but just bringing that scenario up.
The problem we have is inability to prioritize our governing allocation. When we have ministry heading all sectors, it means that we can budget according to the need of Nigeria, not the need of the minister. So people should not increase costs or make budget to be equal. You know, people try to play this policy of politics of when you give to left, you give to right. In budgeting for national development like ours, you need to pay attention to what is needed most for the people. Therefore, the time you are taking commitment towards education, security is number one in every nation. You could see what other countries, advanced nations, invest in security. But that is already certain. What we are saying now is commitment towards education has been poor because none of these meetings we refer to that we don't have the Accountant General of the Nation Federation present. You have Minister of Finance, you have Minister of Budget. They have always been involved such that they can guide the president of what is possible at the time of taking commitment. And where this is done, it means at the point of commitment, Nigeria can do it. You can't then, after 2 months, prioritize another sector for purposes of interest of certain people and then put education behind because the people that were on strike have gone back to work. You are destabilizing even the learning strength, not just the student, including the capacity of the lecturers. It's being frustrated.
Well, this matter has again brought to the fore the issue of policy inconsistency. And then one also wonders how exactly and where does this committee start from? Are they going to start from the scratch? Would it mean that whatever has transpired between 2000 and especially between 2017 and now, you know, is null and void and they have to bring the issue back to the table?
I think they need to apply the system of remedy because as we speak, whatever that is outstanding is injurious because of the devaluation in our currency. Every commitment government has taken before now, what you called billion or millions before today could be billions in reflection. So government in this approach, we may recommend a situation that both the lecturers and the government will be sincere to the extent that critical analysis, that's why I like the 3-month stand I was given. I don't want to see it as political. Is to allow the committee spend their intelligence in studying what made the agreement to fail. Because whatever that made the agreement to fail twice, it failed the third time. It means if you don't remove that very obstacle, it will fail again. So critical analysis will be done and then ascertain the degree of whatever would have caused the failure of the previous. Then you can therefore recommend a possible approach that could give us result. Because it's not about how much you're expecting, it's how much can be paid in such a way that we can sustain.
So something that is practicable. You know, the minister said something that is realistic and workable. That should be the agreement. You spoke about sincerity on the part of the parties involved, but sincerity cannot exactly be measured, can it? How do you measure that, you know, government is sincere, labor is sincere? Sincerity
in this case, from the point of trade union, agreement should be sacrosanct. And when you reach an agreement to pay me my entitlement, you are not doing me a favor. So when government employ discretion to managing implementation of agreement, that is where the sincerity comes. As at the point of salary to a worker does not believe that I will do my job and not get paid. So that is the area you see federal government in the research, the research strength in our education system is poor. Lecturers are not putting in their best with regards to being innovative. So government has failed them. Discouraging them from putting their best is also affecting our children in those schools. So insincerity is actually the problem I see from day one, that government always take commitment. They know ab initio that is difficult to keep. But because they want to convince the lecturers to go back to school, and then they just take a commitment that cannot be implemented. That I see as unsincere, it's insincere, and it shouldn't be a continuous practice for a nation. Anything you see federal government do is a reflection of our character as a country. And we should be worried of how other nations view our decision.
But still staying on this, Mr. Sogode, you're trying to describe that scenario where government promises to do something, not necessarily because they have the power to do it, but because they want these teachers, these people who are on strike, to go back to school. But what would they rather do? Because in most of these cases, you find out that the strike is extending, students are home, the tertiary institutions are practically, under lock and key. So what steps should take? If you, for instance, also reflect on what brought us here with the national minimum wage, see how long it took us. But thankfully, the intervention of the president, they were somehow able to bring the figure down from 1 million naira to 70,000 naira.
Government should prioritize their spending. Nigeria has money to solve the problem of ASUU. Nigeria is channeling their money to other things that is not a priority to Nigeria. There is a difference between caring for activities, they have short, medium, and long term in planning. When you design ASUU challenge, you will discover that majority of ASUU problems should be immediate, and therefore give that immediate attention. Government has voted in money to areas they consider is a priority to them politically. ASUU may not give them that kind of wave, and they now play ASUU issue to come on a secondary note. That is the problem. We have the money to solve education problem because you are not doing ASUU any favor. You are talking about the strength of Nigeria. Don't forget, without education, there's barely nothing we can do as a nation. So we have started on that foundation that you must train the children of today for tomorrow in order to deliver technology that we're referring to. Nigeria should not just be importing to consume. We should also be importing to invest, to export. How do you get that without education? So our research institute is not being encouraged. We are not doing anything positive that shows that Nigeria will deliver on its mandate to provide the needed facilities that will promote a national security. Because you mentioned last issue of security. You can't secure without technology.
All right, Mr.
Otherwise, you depend on foreign nations, which will also compromise your own strength as security may demand.
We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue from where we have stopped. Please stay with us on the program.